And welcome to Hannity. And tonight we do have a big announcement at the end of the show. I'll give you a hint. I will be back in Washington, D.C. tomorrow. All right, another busy day, nonstop action from the Trump administration and the media mob spinning in circles predictably. This as some of the worst people in the D.C. swamp are trying to derail Tulsi Gabbard's nomination as Donald Trump's director of national intelligence. Coming up, Meghan McCain will join us. She wants to defend Tulsi Gabbard from what has been a pretty disgraceful smear campaign. Let me just warn you, buckle up. All week, it's going to be Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Tulsi, Kash Patel, and it will be one attempt after another to Bork, Clarence Thomas, and Brett Kavanaugh, all of these nominees of President Trump, so don't be surprised. Also tonight, my interview with Ukrainian President Zelensky. I asked if he would be open to a negotiated settlement that takes NATO off the table and some compromise on territorial issues. We'll tell you about his answer. I also asked him a question about whether or not Ukraine will pay the U.S. back the couple of $100 billion that the U.S. has given them. But first, today, after 4 long years, competency was restored to the White House press briefing room. New White House press secretary Karoline Leavitt stood behind the podium for her very first official briefing. She wasted no time taking down members of the state-run legacy media mob. Take a look.
President Trump has always been the hardest working man in politics. I think that's been proven over the past week. This president has again signed more than 300 executive orders. He's taken historic action. I gaggled aboard Air Force One to mark the first 100 days of this administration, 4 p.m. last Friday, or first 100 hours rather. And this president did more in the first 100 hours than the previous president did in the first 100 days. The past 4 years, we've seen the Biden administration spend money like drunken sailors. It's a big reason we've had an inflation crisis in this country, and it's incumbent upon this administration to make sure, again, that every penny is being accounted for honestly. This administration is taking into consideration how hard the American people are working, and their tax dollars actually matter to this administration. DOJ and OMB also found that there was about to be 50 million taxpayer dollars that went out the door to fund condoms in Gaza. That is a preposterous waste of taxpayer money. I would like to point out to each and every one of you that in 2024, when Joe Biden was in the Oval Office, or upstairs in the residence sleeping, I'm not so sure, egg prices increased 65% in this country. I will say it's very easy to speak truth from this podium when you have a president who is implementing policies that are wildly popular with the American people, and that's exactly what this administration is doing. It's correcting the lies and the wrongs of the past 4 years, many of the lies that have been told to your faces in this very briefing room. I will not do that. But since you brought up Truth Seek, I would like to point out, while I vowed to provide the truth from this podium, we ask that all of you in this room hold yourselves to that same standard.
By the way, she absolutely crushed it. Little shock and awe for the mainstream media mob. What a difference, by the way, a week makes. Clearly today, a star was born in that room. The previous administration, they used the press briefing room to peddle lies and misinformation and propaganda from a giant binder full of, pre-written talking points. And of course, we're still waiting on Jen Psaki to circle back, especially on the egregious claim that the border is secure and closed as millions and millions of unvetted Harris-Biden illegal immigrants poured across our borders right before our eyes. She flat out lied to us. For years, Biden, Kamala, failed DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. They pushed this lie on you, the American people, while simultaneously allowing the greatest national security disaster in our nation's history to unfold. Thankfully, there is a new sheriff in town, and that is former Governor, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem. She'll join us in a moment. She is not messing around. And on just her second day on the job, she joined an illegal immigration raid in the Bronx and in New York City. Writing on X, we are doing what President Trump promised the American people. We are making our streets safe. That is what real leadership looks like. Now, throughout the morning, immigration officials, they partnered with federal law enforcement agencies to carry out all of these raids, arresting a number of criminal illegal aliens in our country. As the operation continued, Secretary Noem posted several updates touting The capture of what she described as dirtbags among the numerous criminal illegal aliens arrested was one of the alleged ringleaders of the violent Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, who was wanted on charges of kidnapping, burglary, menacing as part of the violent takeover of that apartment building in Colorado. That's where a group of heavily armed men, could be seen on video forcing their way into an apartment. The raids in New York City this morning are just the latest in the administration's nationwide crackdown in big cities and small towns all across the country. In fact, yesterday, the Department of Homeland Security put out a statement announcing 7,300 illegal aliens were arrested in Donald Trump's first week alone. As of 11 a.m., ICE said there had already been nearly 1,000 arrests made just this morning. President Trump reportedly wants at least 1,800 arrests every single day. With millions and millions here, that's a doable number. According to the press secretary, Karoline Leavitt, who we just played, Donald Trump is deadly serious about cleaning up the illegal immigration disaster and the national security crisis that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris left behind. Take a look.
President Trump has sent a loud and clear message to the entire world. America will no longer tolerate illegal immigration. So, to foreign nationals who are thinking about trying to illegally enter the United States, think again. Under this president, you will be detained and you will be deported. Every day, Americans are safer because of the violent criminals that President Trump's administration is removing from our communities.
Of the 3,500 arrests ICE has made so far since President Trump came back into office, can you just tell us the numbers? How many have a criminal record versus those who are just in the country illegally?
All of them, because they illegally broke our nation's laws and therefore they are criminals as far as this administration goes.
Checkmate. Naturally, not everybody's celebrating the Trump administration and their efforts to make our country safer. Well, as per usual, reverting to form, several members of the left-wing, state-run legacy media mob, they are in a meltdown mode. What a shock. They've only been doing this for 9 straight years. Take a look.
When you start having Gestapo raids in America, and we start becoming a country where, as in East Germany, a knock on the door is the thing people are thinking about instead of the brilliant idea they want to go create, then we are moving very, very far from the president worrying about what regular people need, right? He is distracting people with this flurry of activity, but none of these images you're seeing are going to make your life better.
Similarities to what happened in Germany and what's happening now in America are just undeniable. History may not repeat verbatim, but it sure does rhyme.
An undocumented immigrant is not a criminal because he or she is undocumented. That is a civil offense. So to call people illegal is, in and of itself, I think, xenophobic and racist.
No, that would be a criminal offense. Here we are, we're back to Gestapo and Hitler and Nazis and Stalin and Mussolini. The hysteria, it never stops. No wonder why the state-run media mob is losing audience day by day. They don't tell people the truth. And the predictable comparisons to Hitler and Stalin, it's on again and again and again. This is all they know. They don't know about truth. They actually call themselves journalists. They're not. The media mob, clearly, they learned nothing from November. They're not listening to the American people. They are doubling down on dumb, dumber, and stupid. But it's not just the media. You have uninformed Hollywood celebrities also weighing in. We saw yesterday Selena Gomez posting a video just sobbing uncontrollably about Donald Trump rounding up violent, criminal, illegal aliens. Let me ask, where were those tears for Rachel Morin, mother of 5, Jocelyn Nungary, 13 years old, 12 years old, Laken Riley? What about the hundreds of thousands of missing children, over 350,000? What about the hundreds of thousands of dead Americans, young people from fentanyl and opioids being trafficked over our southern border? What about the thousands of Americans murdered and raped and victims of other violent crimes by Harris, Biden, Mayorkas, unvetted illegals? Where are those tears? I didn't see those tears from Selena or anyone in the state-run media mob that now is saying this is expensive to get rid of. What about the cost of feeding and housing and health care and education and free sex change operations funded by taxpayers that Kamala wanted? You know, where were the tears, you know, for the victims of crimes by these unvetted illegals? Instead, they're saving all their tears for criminal, illegal immigrants that didn't respect our laws, our borders, our sovereignty, that are rightly being deported. They love to enforce the law when it comes to Donald Trump, even if it meant we're going to lie about the value of Mar-a-Lago. We'll make up a story about Russia with Hillary's bought and paid for Russian dossier. We'll lie to FISA courts. We'll spy on the president. We'll have a double standard when it comes to top secret classified information. Where is their compassion for American victims? And while the left is engaging in their theatrics, the Trump administration is on the ground, some being shot at, making good on their promises to make this country safe again in small towns and big cities. And that includes DHS Secretary Kristi Noem. Take a look.
We do have some challenges, and the world is a dangerous place. And we've got dangerous, evil foreign governments that want to take us down. We will be the first line of defense for anybody that's in the American homeland. We will do everything that we can to protect the American people.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.